Okay, I want to start this off by putting you in a very specific place. I want you to close your eyes, well, if you're not driving, and imagine it is August 1975. You are deep, and I mean deep, in the Adirondack Mountains.
Yeah, and not the pretty postcard version of the mountains either.
Right, exactly. It is early morning. It's that weird, that strange hour where everything is just gray and misty. It's humid. It is sticky. The air is so thick with the smell of damp pine needles and wet earth that you can practically taste it.
It's that oppressive, heavy summer air where literally nothing ever quite dries out. You're just constantly damp.
Yes. And you are standing in a rustic wooden cabin. It's called Balsam. You are a camp counselor named Louise Donadieu.
Yeah,
You're 23 years old. You're barefoot on these rough wooden floorboards. And let's be honest, you are probably a little bit hungover.
definitely hungover.
Definitely. And you're doing the thing you do every single morning, the head count. 1, 2, 3. You're just scanning the bunks.
And this is the moment. This is where the entire world just shifts on its axis.
Yeah.
Because Louise gets to the lower bunk right by the door, and the mattress is bare.
The bed is empty. It's just gone. I mean, the girl is gone.
And those 4 words, the bed is empty,
Yeah.
that is the absolute nightmare scenario for any camp counselor, obviously. You panic. Did they go to the bathroom? Did they sneak out to smoke?
Yes.
But here, in this specific place, with this specific child, that empty bed isn't just a rule violation. It is cataclysmic.
Right, because this isn't just some random kid from the suburbs. The missing girl is Barbara Van Laar. And if you are in this part of the country, if you are in the Adirondacks, the name Van Laar it's everything.
It's royalty.
It really is. It's the name on the iron gates at the entrance. It's the name on the deeds to thousands of acres. It is the name on the massive preservation estate they're currently standing in. She is the daughter of the dynasty.
And immediately, Louise feels the temperature in the room drop. Because for the people who've lived in these woods for a long time, this isn't just a missing camper. This is an echo. It's history repeating itself in the most terrifying way possible.
Yeah.
Because Barbara isn't the first Van Laar child to vanish into this exact patch of wilderness.
And that chill you're feeling right now, that is exactly where we are starting today. We're doing a deep dive into the novel The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, and I have to say, right off the bat, this book absolutely consumed me.
Oh, it's incredible.
It is a brick of a book, but it moves like a sprinter. It's this massive multi-timeline mystery that somehow manages to be a police procedural, a family drama, and a survival thriller all at the same time.
It really is a remarkable piece of work. I think what strikes me most about The God of the Woods is how Liz Moore uses the structure of a thriller to talk about much bigger, heavier things. It's not just a, whodunit or a where are they.
Yeah.
It's this brutal examination of class, of gender dynamics in the 1970s, and honestly, about the terrifying, indifferent power of nature.
And the way money insulates you, or specifically, I guess, how it completely fails to insulate you from reality.
Precisely. It dissects the American aristocracy in a way that feels very sharp, almost surgical.
So let's set the stage a bit before we get into the twists and turns. We have the setup. Barbara Van Laar is gone. It's 1975. But to understand why everyone is instantly losing their minds, we have to talk about the atmosphere of this place. The book sets up this incredible tension right from the jump between the manicured lives of the wealthy Van Laars and the absolute chaos of the woods surrounding them.
And that tension is perfectly encapsulated in the title itself, The God of the Woods.
Yeah.
But there's a specific concept the book plays with that I think acts as our skeleton key for understanding literally everything that happens. It's the concept of panic.
Yes. I loved this detail so much. It comes up in a lecture given to the campers early in the book. It feels like a bit of trivia at first, but it's actually the thesis statement for the whole novel.
Right, so the camp director is a woman named T.J. Hewitt. And we are going to talk a lot about T.J. today because she is fascinating. But she gathers the campers and asks them if they know where the word panic comes from. And naturally, a bunch of teenagers in 1975 don't know, so she explains it. She tells them it comes from Pan, the Greek god of the woods.
And the mythology is that Pan wasn't necessarily evil, but he was chaotic. He would make these sudden, terrifying noises in the forest, like cracking branches, sudden gusts of wind, strange cries, just to disorient travelers.
Exactly. So panic isn't just being scared. Fear is rational. You see a bear, you are afraid of the bear. Panic is irrational. Panic is what happens when you are totally disconnected from your bearings. It's the chaos that ensues when you fight nature, when you try to impose control on something that inherently cannot be controlled.
Right.
And that is the central metaphor here. The Van Laar family tries to control everything, their image, their banking empire, their children, the land itself. But the panic, the chaos always finds a way in.
TJ's lesson to the kids is basically to panic is to make the woods your enemy. To stay calm is to make them your friend. And that distinction, as we'll see, is going to determine who survives and who doesn't in this story.
It creates two distinct categories of people. You have the people who panic, which is mostly the wealthy, influential Van Laars because they're trying to fight the woods. And then you have the people who stay calm, the Hewitts, the locals, because they understand the woods. They respect the chaos.
Let's unpack this landscape of power a bit because the setting here is practically a character in itself. We have the Van Laar Preserve. It is massive. It is completely isolated. And geographically, it's set up to show you exactly who has the power.
Oh, the geography is pure symbolism. You have the big house where the Van Laar family lives. It sits high up on a ridge, literally looking down on everything else. It looks down on the lake. It looks down on the camp. It looks down on the servants' quarters. It's like Mount Olympus.
And the name of the house. I mean, you have to appreciate the sheer audacity of these people. They name their mansion Self-Reliance.
Which is, without a doubt, the most ironic name in the history of architecture. It's drawn from Ralph Waldo Emerson, obviously the transcendentalist essay, Self-Reliance. The Van Laars view themselves as these rugged individualists.
But are they self-reliant at all?
Not even a little bit. And that's the bitter irony Moore is playing with. The Van Laars are bankers. They are Albany bankers, concerned entirely with reputation, with trust in the financial sense. They have immense power, but it's soft power. It's checkbook power.
Right.
They cannot fix a leaking pipe. They cannot track a deer. They cannot find their way out of the woods without a guide. Their quote-unquote self-reliance is entirely dependent on a massive staff of servants, maids, and groundskeepers just to keep the roof from caving in.
Contrast that with the Hewitts. We have Vic Hewitt, the father, and TJ, his daughter.
Now, they are self-reliant. Vic Hewitt has been the caretaker of the estate for decades. He is a local legend. The book gives us this incredible detail that he's missing part of an earlobe because he fought a black bear years ago.
That is a detail that really sticks with you. It immediately establishes him as part of the wild. He bled into the woods, and the woods took a piece of him.
And TJ is one of the most fascinating characters in modern fiction, I think. She is the bridge between these two worlds. She runs the summer camp, but she's also the groundskeeper in the off-season.
Describe her for us, because she has a very specific look that tells us a lot about who she is and how she moves through this world.
She is described as almost visually aggressive in her refusal to be ladylike. She has this choppy, terrible bowl cut that she probably does herself with kitchen shears. She wears men's work clothes, big boots, flannel shirts. She uses chaw-chewing tobacco, and she spits on the ground. She is androgynous, stoic, and incredibly, intensely competent.
She's tough as nails. And there's this underlying sense that while the Van Laars own the land on paper, the Hewitts own it in practice. They know where the bodies are buried, literally and figuratively.
That's a crucial distinction. Ownership versus mastery. The Van Laars treat the woods as a backdrop for their leisure, like a scenery painting for their cocktail parties. The Hewitts understand that the woods are a living, dangerous entity that requires deep respect. And because TJ is always there, always working, she becomes this surrogate parent to the Van Laar children.
That's a key dynamic. The rich parents are distant, maybe drinking too much, obsessed with their social standing. TJ is the one actually watching the kids. She's the safe harbor.
Which makes her position incredibly precarious. She loves these kids, but she has zero legal authority over them. She's an employee. She lives in a small cabin on their land. She can be fired and evicted at any moment. So she has to navigate this total minefield of caring for the children while not overstepping with the masters of the house.
So we have the setting, we have the players. Now let's talk about the history. Because you cannot understand Barbara's disappearance in 1975 without going back to the original trauma, the first trauma, 1961. This is the shadow that is just hanging over everything in this book.
The disappearance of Peter Van Laar IV, known to the family as Bear.
Bear. He was Barbara's older brother. In 1961, he was 8 years old, the golden child, the absolute heir to the banking empire.
And in the summer of 1961, during a big family party, they call it the Black Fly Goodbye. He vanishes.
The official story, the one that went into the police reports, the one the newspapers printed, the one everyone accepted, is that he went for a walk with his grandfather, Peter Van Laar II.
Right. The grandfather claims they got to the trailhead, Bear realized he forgot his pocket knife, and ran back to get it. And he was never seen again, just walked off the trail and was swallowed by the earth.
Which creates this whole mythology of the cursed woods. But inside the house, inside the family, there is a much messier, much darker reality. And it centers on Alice, Bear's mother.
Alice is one of the most tragic figures in this novel. In 1961, she's young, she's beautiful, but she's an outsider. She married into the Van Laars, and she never really fit. She's more sensitive. And on the day Bear disappears, something happens to her that is essentially psychological warfare.
Gaslighting? I mean, it is textbook gaslighting before the term was even popular.
It absolutely is.
What
Alice
is-
has a memory of that day. It's fragmented, sure, but it's vivid. She remembers being in a rowboat with Bear. She remembers a storm coming up, a sudden, violent summer storm on the lake. She remembers the boat capsizing. She remembers the cold water.
But the family tells her she's crazy.
They tell her she was drunk.
Yeah.
Which she might have been drinking, yes. But they use that to discredit her entire reality. They tell her, Alice, you never left your room. You were asleep. The boat ride was a dream. It was a hallucination caused by the alcohol and the grief.
And to make absolutely sure she believes them, they bring in Dr. Lewis.
The family doctor. He sedates her. He pumps her full of pills, Valium, heavy sedatives. She spends the next decade in a literal fog. She's locked in her room, basically, kept out of sight.
And she starts hearing things. This is the part that gave me absolute chills when I was reading. She hears a child's voice in the house.
Mama.
Just that word, mama, coming from the walls, coming from the vents.
And every single time she hears it, she asks Peter, her husband, did you hear that? And he says, no. It's in your head, Alice. Take another pill.
Imagine the isolation of that. You lose your son, and your grief is treated as insanity. You are told your memory is a lie. Your own husband is systematically breaking down your grip on reality.
But it served the Van Laars' purpose perfectly. Think about it. If Alice's story is true, that she took the heir to the dynasty out in a boat while intoxicated and he drowned, that is a massive scandal. It's manslaughter. It completely destroys the trust the bank relies on. A tragic disappearance in the wild woods. That's romantic. That's sad. But a negligent drowning, that's ugly.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't even think about the PR angle of it, but of course.
Exactly. So the Van Laar men, the husband and the grandfather, decide that a mysterious disappearance is a much better narrative for the brand than a negligent drowning. They choose the story that preserves their power, even if it completely destroys Alice's mind.
And they needed a villain to sell that story. If it wasn't Alice and if the boy just vanished, people are going to want answers. So the blame fell on Carl Stoddard.
Carl Stoddard, the other groundskeeper, a local man,
Right.
working class. He worked right alongside Vic Hewitt.
The rumors started that he abducted Bear or murdered him, and these rumors just spread like wildfire.
And the Van Laars did nothing to stop those rumors. In fact, they benefited from them immensely. Carl is taken into police custody. He was interrogated brutally. And he had a pre-existing heart condition. He died right there in the police station.
He literally died of a heart attack while protesting his innocence.
And that, too, was incredibly convenient for the Van Laars. A dead suspect can't defend himself in court. The police could just close the file and say, well, the guy who probably did it is dead. Case closed.
But it destroyed Carl's family. His wife, Marianne Stoddard. She spends the next 14 years as a pariah in the town. She spends every spare minute she has wandering the woods, looking for clues, just desperately trying to prove her husband didn't kill that boy.
It sets up this incredible class resentment in the town of Shattuck. The locals know, deep down, that the Van Laars shoot up one of their own and spit him out. The rich get to keep their secrets, and the poor get buried by them.
So that is the heavy, heavy baggage we are carrying when we hit 1975. 14 years later, we have a new generation, Barbara Van Laar.
The spare heir, the girl who lived.
And she is not having a good time.
No, she's really not. Barbara is constantly labeled the problem child. She's rebellious, she's difficult, she's angry, she sneaks out, she drinks, she sleeps around. And frankly, she has every right to be angry. She's grown up in a mausoleum, raised by a heavily sedated mother and an absent, freezing cold father, constantly living in the shadow of a dead brother she can never possibly live up to.
And the stakes for her are incredibly high right now. The book reveals that her parents are just done with her. They've reached their limit. They are planning to send her away to Elan.
And we really need to pause on Elan, because for younger listeners or anyone who didn't grow up in that era, this might just sound like a strict boarding school. It wasn't. Elan was a real place in Maine. It was part of what we now call the troubled teen industry.
It was absolutely notorious.
It was horrific. It wasn't just strict, it was abusive. They used attack therapy, humiliation, actual psychological torture, kids screaming at other kids for hours on end, physical confrontation. Sending Barbara there wasn't just sending her away to school, it was sentencing her to a breaking point. It was a prison sentence designed to shatter a child's will.
So Barbara's cornered. She knows this is coming in the fall. She's forced to attend this camp on her own estate. Camp Emerson basically is a holding cell for the summer until they ship her off. But at camp, we start to see a very different side of her.
We see her through the eyes of Tracy. Tracy Jewell is her bunkmate. She's socially awkward. She has severe anxiety. She's nicknamed Connect the Dots because of her severe acne. She is the ultimate outcast.
I love Tracy. She is so relatable. She just wants to read her books and be left alone. But Barbara, the supposed mean girl, or so we think, takes her under her wing.
It's a fascinating dynamic. Barbara doesn't pity Tracy. She empowers her. She includes her. And there is this key scene, the survival trip, that completely flips our understanding of Barbara as a character.
Oh my gosh, the squirrel scene. This was so visceral.
The squirrel scene. So the campers are sent out into the woods overnight with minimal supplies. It's supposed to be a learning experience, a team-building thing. But they run out of food because the counselors are actually incompetent. And Barbara, the spoiled rich girl, doesn't complain. She doesn't whine. She sets a snare. She catches a squirrel. And then, without even flinching, she skins it. She guts it. She cooks it over a fire she built herself.
And Tracy's watching this like, who are you?
Exactly. Barbara reveals that she possesses self-reliance for real. Not the fake checkbook kind her parents have. She knows the woods. She knows how to use a knife. She knows how to handle blood. She isn't the pampered, helpless princess the counselors think she is. She is a survivor.
No.
She is competent.
It changes everything about how we view her disappearance later. When Louise finds that empty bed, we initially might think, oh, helpless girl lost in the dangerous woods. But after the squirrel scene, we think, wait a minute. Barbara knows exactly what she's doing.
She's a predator in her own environment, not prey. She didn't panic.
So let's look at the night she disappears, because it's a complete comedy of errors on the part of the adult staff.
It's the night of the big camp dance. Pure chaos.
Yeah.
Hormonal teenagers everywhere.
Louise, the counselor, is sneaking out to meet a lover, Lee Towson. He's a kitchen worker. She's looking for romance, for some kind of escape from her own mundane life.
And she leaves Annabelle, the counselor in training, the CIT, in charge of the cabin. Annabelle is only 17. She gets her hands on some alcohol. She gets very drunk, and she just passes out.
So the cabin is completely unguarded.
Completely unguarded.
Yeah.
It's the total breakdown of surveillance. It's the chaos of Pan creeping in again. The adults are distracted by their own desires and vices, and it creates the absolute perfect blind spot for Barbara to slip through.
And into this massive, chaotic mess walks Judy D. Liptak.
Judy Dieta. I absolutely love this character. She's a young investigator with the state police. It's 1975, so she is dealing with a rampant, casual, everyday sexism. The male troopers literally call her a girl. They dismiss her theories. They send her to fetch coffee. Her boss, Denny Hayes, isn't explicitly evil, but he's incredibly patronizing. He does not think she can handle a real case.
But she uses that invisibility, right? She turns it to her advantage.
She really does. It becomes her superpower. Because the men are completely ignoring the women, Judy Entata realizes that the women are the ones who actually hold the keys to the truth. She listens to Alice Van Laar when the men dismiss her as just a drunk housewife. She listens to T.J. Hewitt. She listens to Tracy, the awkward camber.
And she starts to piece together that this isn't a simple kidnapping, but she has to wade through a lot of noise first. Specifically, the legend of the Slitter.
Jacob Sluter, the local boogeyman. He is a serial killer who operated in the area years ago. And conveniently, rumors start flying around town that he has escaped prison right around the time Barbara goes missing.
It's the perfect ghost story. The Slitter got her.
It is. And analytically, the Slitter legend functions as a massive community-wide distraction. It's a sociological tool. It is so much easier for the community and the police to blame a monster lurking in the dark woods than to look at the monster sitting in the big house. It exteriorizes the evil.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, if it's a serial killer, it's a random tragedy like a lightning strike. Nothing you can do. But if it's the family, that's a systemic rot. The Slitter is the distraction that keeps people from looking at the Van Laars.
But Judy Hedda doesn't buy the easy answer. She's too smart for that. She keeps digging into the history. And this is where the two timelines, 1961 and 1975, finally crash into each other. She finds a photo.
A photo tucked away in a drawer in the Hewitt cabin. It's from the Black Fly Goodbye in 1961. The day Bear disappeared. It shows the whole cast of characters, the Van Laars, and Vic Hewitt. And something about the body language, something about the intense way Vic is looking at the family, tips her off that something is deeply wrong.
And then Alice finally talks.
Alice confesses to Giudiardo. She finally finds someone, another woman, who will actually listen to her. She tells her about the boat. She tells her, I wasn't hallucinating. I was there. My son drowned.
And this leads to the full unearthing of the truth about Bear, and this is the moment in the book where your heart just completely breaks for Vic Hewitt.
We learn what really happened that night. In 1961, Alice capsized the boat. Bear drowned. Peter II, the grandfather, found out. He found Alice, he found the boat, and he made a choice. He decided to cover it up to save the bank.
But he couldn't dig the hole himself? A man like that doesn't get his hands dirty?
No, his hands are far too clean for that. So he went to Vic Hewitt. Vic, who loved Bear. Vic, who had practically raised the boy alongside his own daughter, TJ. And Peter II told Vic, you are going to take this tiny body and you are going to bury it where no one will ever find it.
Yeah.
If you don't, I will completely destroy you.
He threatened him.
He threatened his livelihood, he threatened his home, and most importantly, he threatened TJ's future. Vic knew that if he refused, the Van Laars would crush him like a bug. He would be homeless. TJ would be destitute out on the street.
So he did.
He did. He buried the child he loved in order to save the child he raised. He buried Bear to save TJ.
That kind of moral injury, carrying that secret for 14 years while watching the boy's mother go insane. It explains everything about why Vic is the way he is, why he's so silent, why he literally never smiles.
And it perfectly explains TJ, because TJ figured it out. She was a kid, but she was smart. She saw the web close. She saw the fundamental dynamic shift between her father and the Van Laars. She knew what her father had done, and she knew exactly why he did it. She knew the horrific cost of the Van Laars' reputation. She grew up carrying the heavy weight of what her father was forced to do. She understood, better than anyone, that the Van Laars were dangerous.
Which brings us right back to 1975. Barbara is missing. The police are dragging the lake. They're combing the woods looking for the slitter. But that is not what happened at all.
No. And this is the massive twist that recontextualizes the entire book. Barbara wasn't taken. She left.
It was an escape.
It was an orchestrated, highly planned extraction. And the accomplice, T.J. Hewitt.
TJ, the camp director, the loyal employee.
TJ looked at Barbara, this young girl who was about to be sent to Elon, about to be crushed by the exact same family machinery that crushed her father and Bear, and she decided, not this time. She decided to break the cycle once and for all.
She chose Barbara over the Van Laars.
She chose justice over loyalty. She risked everything, her job, her home, her actual freedom, to get Barbara out.
So the plan, it wasn't just a spur-of-the-moment, run-into-the-woods thing.
No, and that's what makes it so brilliant when you look back. TJ had been training Barbara all summer. That survival trip, the squirrel skinning, the lectures about panic. That wasn't just camp curriculum, that was basic training. TJ was teaching Barbara how to survive in the wild so she could disappear and never have to come back.
Panic comes from Pan. To survive, you must not panic. You must befriend the woods. It wasn't a history lesson, it was instructions.
Exactly. The Van Laars fear the woods. TJ taught Barbara to become the god of the woods, to be a part of the ecosystem, not an intruder, to blend in so perfectly that she couldn't be found by the state police, by dogs, by anyone.
So where does she actually go?
The Hewitts have a secret cabin. It's an old hunting shack on an island in a lake 50 miles north. It's accessible only by canoe. It's completely off the maps. It's isolated. That's the safe house.
And Giudietta figures this out.
She does, because she pays attention to the tiny details the men miss. She sees a map in TJ's cabin with a single pin in it, just one pin in the middle of absolute nowhere. And she puts it together. She realizes TJ isn't a villain. She's a protector.
So Giudietta drives north. She gets to the lake, but she doesn't have a boat.
No. So she swims. And this scene is incredibly cinematic. Giudietta, exhausted, swimming across this freezing, dark lake in the Adirondacks. She pulls herself onto the shore. She's dripping wet, freezing. She finds the cabin. And there is Barbara.
She's not scared. She's not hurt.
She's fine. She's reading a book. She has food. She's safe. She is self-reliant in the way her family never, ever was.
And Giudietta has a choice here. She is a cop. Her job, her literal duty, is to bring the missing girl home.
But Giudietta knows what home means for Barbara. Home is a prison. Home is Elon. Home is a heavily medicated mother and a cold, calculating father. Home is destruction.
So she asks her.
She asks, "Are you all right?" Barbara says yes. Then Giudietta asks, "Do you want me to leave you alone?" And Barbara says yes.
And Giudietta turns around and swings back.
She leaves her. She doesn't rescue her because Barbara does not need rescuing. She needs freedom. Judy Schutter realizes that returning Barbara to her parents would be the real crime. Returning her to the Van Laars would be returning her to the cage.
It's the ultimate act of justice. The legal system completely failed Bear in 1961. It failed Carl Stoddard. But here, the laws of the woods prevail.
It's a profound moment of solidarity between these women, Judashuta, TJ, and Barbara, against a patriarchal system that just wants to control them. Judacheta decides that the morally right thing to do is the illegal thing.
So let's talk about the aftermath, because the fallout from all of this is massive. The Van Laar House of Cards finally, thankfully, collapses.
It crumbles completely. With the truth out, or at least enough of the truth about the cover-up, the investigation pivots hard. Alice Van Laar is vindicated. Now, the statute of limitations on the accidental drowning has passed, so she can't be charged. But the cover-up, that's fresh. Peter III, the husband, and Peter II, the grandfather, lied to the police now during the search for Barbara. So they are indicted for conspiracy and obstruction of justice.
The bank's pristine reputation is toast.
Destroyed. The very thing they sacrificed their children to protect, the name, the brand, the trust, is gone. It's poetic justice. They lost the children and the bank.
And Marianne Stoddard Carl's widow, after 14 years, she finally gets to see her husband's name cleared.
That's such a huge emotional moment. The working class finally gets a measure of justice. The town of Shattuck can finally stop whispering behind her back. The dark cloud over the Stoddard name is lifted forever.
And Louise, the counselor who started this whole thing by missing the empty bed.
TJ looks out for her own. Even amidst all the chaos, TJ makes calls. She helps Louise get a job at a lodge further away. She saves her from total ruin. It's this quiet network of support that stands in stark, beautiful contrast to the Van Laar's coldness.
It really highlights the core theme of survival in the book. You have survival of the fittest in the capitalist sense, the Van Laars, the money, the sheer power. But they don't survive. They rot from the inside out.
And then you have actual survival. Grit, skill, connection. Barbara survives because she can skin a squirrel and build a fire. TJ survives because she deeply understands the land. The book argues that true power isn't about dominion over nature or other people. It's about integration. It's about resilience.
It totally circles back to that god of the woods idea. The Van Laars thought they were the gods. They sat up in their Olympus house looking down on everyone, but they weren't.
No, they were just tourists. The real gods were the ones in the dirt. TJ Hewitt was the god of those woods.
So, as we wrap up this deep dive into The God of the Woods by Liz Moore, what is the big takeaway for you?
For me, it's really about the definition of a good mother. You have Alice, who loves her children desperately, but she's rendered totally powerless by the patriarchy of her family and the medical system. She's a victim. And then you have TJ Hewitt. She isn't Barbara's biological mother, but she performs the ultimate act of mothering. She prepares the child to survive without her, and then she bravely lets her go.
That is beautiful. She prepares the child to survive without her.
That's the job. And TJ did it. She saved the one she could.
This book, it really haunts you. It makes you look at the woods differently, and it definitely makes you look at power differently.
Absolutely. It forces you to question what actually lies beneath the surface of quote-unquote respectable families.
I want to leave you with this final thought. We live in a world that is still very much built on reputation, on appearance, on the Van Laar model of success. But when the storm actually comes, when the lights go out, when you are truly lost in the wild, who are the actual gods controlling the outcome? Is it the people sitting up in the mansion? Or is it the people who know how to navigate the dark?
Something to think about next time you're walking in the woods.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Stay safe out there.